Alright, so we're going to continue with the Hamlet Notes for Act 2. In this section, some time has passed since Act 1. Laertes, we saw him about to leave for Paris to go back to school the last time, in the last act when he was talking to Ophelia and warning her about Hamlet. Voltimand and Cornelius, who they had been sent to Norway by Claudius to try to make peace with Fortinbras. They've returned, so they've had time to sail to Norway and back. Ophelia has been putting off Hamlet just like her father ordered her, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern have been sent for and have arrived. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are friends of Hamlet from school, and Claudius sent for them, and we'll talk about why in a minute. So, for Act 2, Scene 1, here, Polonius, the father of Ophelia, remember, sends this guy Reynaldo to spy on Laertes. Polonius suspects Laertes of a, shall we say, wild lifestyle. Lots of women, gambling, drinking, etc. And so Polonius sends this guy Reynaldo to spy on Laertes. This is another example of seeming to be one thing, but really being another. This thematic idea of appearance versus reality. And so Reynaldo is going to seem like he's interested in Laertes, wants to get to know him, but is really investigating Laertes' lifestyle for Polonius. Ophelia reports that Hamlet has seemed like he's gone crazy. And this is part of Hamlet's plan to kind of trick Claudius into confessing or finding out if the ghost story is true. Hamlet's acting crazy, and if you act crazy, you can maybe get away with more than if you act normal. Here we see Hamlet in his second suit of clothing. He has this disheveled look, so his jacket is undone, his socks are all scrunched down around his ankles, and his hat's all crooked, and so this costume, on the outside, it's to make him look crazy. But the real symbol here is that it's an image of his tragic suffering at knowing that his father's murderer is married to his mother and is now a stepfather. So for Act 2, Scene 2, Claudius has hired Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, these friends of Hamlet. They seem to be his friends, but they're really spies. Claudius is like, I need you to find out what's going on with my son. So we have more appearance versus reality. Voltimand, the messenger from Norway, says that Fortinbras wants to march through Denmark, and he's not going to make war on Denmark anymore. He's going to instead go to make war on Poland, but he just needs to pass through Denmark to get to Poland. And Claudius says that's fine. Polonius makes this long speech, and it's this sort of famous line, brevity is the soul of wit. Polonius is this long-winded old man. He talks and talks and talks, much like me. Haha, just kidding, sort of. And he says being brief is, a brief joke is a lot funnier than a long joke, but he's standing there, going on and on. Polonius and Claudius are working together to try to figure out what's going on with Hamlet. And so they think that maybe Hamlet's craziness has been brought on by Ophelia rejecting him. And so Polonius plans to loose his daughter on Hamlet. So whereas before Ophelia was rejecting, wouldn't even see Hamlet, now Polonius says, okay, well, let's let her see him and see if that helps with the madness. So now Ophelia seemed like she didn't like Hamlet, but she did. So now she's going to be able to see him, but she's really only doing it because her father's letting her to use her. So Ophelia is going to talk to Hamlet, but Polonius and Claudius, they'll be hiding behind a tapestry that's hanging on the wall. Hamlet talks to Polonius. He makes fun of him, calls him a fishmonger. He's always talking down to Polonius because Polonius is this sort of like know-it-all who goes on and on. He calls him a fishmonger, which is a fish seller, instead of like a nobleman like Polonius is. And Hamlet, again, he seems crazy. However, Claudius and Polonius both note that though Hamlet's acting crazy, it seems a little bit too organized. It's not random enough, that Hamlet seems to still be Hamlet underneath all his craziness. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, of course, we know are spies, and they go talk to Hamlet, and Hamlet quickly perceives that they are spies. And, you know, Hamlet kind of plays with them, makes fun of them, and he's like, I'm not going to tell you what's going on with me, because he can tell that they're spies for Claudius. Hamlet's very intelligent, and you'll see that as the play goes on. While all this is going on, kind of with Claudius and Polonius trying to spy on Hamlet, Ophelia being used by her father, during all this, we have the arrival of these players, a group of actors, and it's their job to act, to play, to put on a show. So their profession is to seem like something other than what they are. And what Hamlet's going to use them for is to show the truth. So there's an irony here that everyone in the real world, in the action of the play, is pretending. And now we have these actors who are professional pretenders who are going to be mirroring reality. So we have like a switch between the people who are supposed to be acting and the people who are supposed to be being normal. And there's an irony there that you'll see when we go through the play together in class. The main player, he gives a speech on the slaying of King Priam at the Battle of Troy, at the Trojan War. So King Priam was the king of Troy. You read the Odyssey your freshman year, and you learned a little bit about the Trojan War, how Odysseus helped defeat the Trojans, and King Priam was the king of Troy. And so the player gives this speech of King Priam right before he's going to be killed. And this player's speech prompts Hamlet's second soliloquy. In the first soliloquy, Hamlet wishes that he could die. And in this soliloquy, Hamlet is upset that he's done nothing. It's been at least 2 months since Hamlet has seen the ghost, and Hamlet still has done nothing to get revenge for his father's murder. So Hamlet comes up with a plan. He's going to use these actors, and he's going to insert a speech into the player's show. So he's going to use this illusion, this seeming, the show, to get at the truth. He's going to insert a speech where a relative pours poison into the ear of another relative and kills him. And that's going to get a reaction out of Claudius because that's how he killed King Hamlet. And during Hamlet's second soliloquy, we get this contrast to the put-on emotions of the player. While the player is giving the speech as King Priam, he's very emotional. The player has very strong acting skills and cries during his speech for his fictional wife. It's not even real, and the player is so emotional. Whereas Hamlet's real actions, this desire to kill his father, lacks the emotions of the player's fake actions. And Hamlet really gets onto himself and says, "Why have you done nothing?" His vengeance has been on the level of words only. Hamlet talks and talks and talks and does not act. Now you know from your previous study of tragedy that there's this idea of hamartia, or the tragic flaw that every tragic hero has to have. And for Hamlet, that tragic flaw is inaction. He talks and talks and talks and does nothing. This soliloquy is full of self-disgust. He starts to doubt the ghost's story. He says the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. And so he starts to think, well, maybe Horatio's right. Maybe this ghost isn't a ghost at all. And he says that he's going to try this play, putting the soliloquy or the speech into the play And he says, the play is the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. So Hamlet is acting on his desire for vengeance through the illusion of the play within a play. And of course, it's ironic that you have to have a play that's an illusion within the play Hamlet, which is also acting. And Shakespeare is very aware of this, that you have this play stacked on top of another play in order to get action. All right, so I'm going to stop there. Here we go.